When I moved to the North Country, one of the first things I did was buy a canoe. $150, heavy as heck. But I loved it, and I paddled it everywhere for 20 years. Then I invested in a used but super light Kevlar canoe, and suddenly carries were so much easier. Well, 100 years ago, that was kind of one of the advantages of the wooden Adirondack guideboat, portable but sturdy. We meet a craftsman who still makes Adirondack guideboats, even as most of the paddling community has moved on. That's today's story of the day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Long Run Wealth, an SEC-registered investment advisor in Lake Placid, providing comprehensive wealth management, retirement, and financial planning solutions. LongRunWealth.com. And from SciTech Business Solutions, training and consulting services to help businesses grow. More information at citec.org.
Hey, I'm David Sommerstein. It's Wednesday, May 22nd. First up, Clinton Community College continues to move forward with a plan to move its campus across town to SUNY Plattsburgh by fall 2025. The hope is that the change will help the college deal with its deficit and long-term declines in enrollment. CCC released more details about what that's going to look like today. As Kara Chapman reports, it involves a new leader.
Dr. John Kowal resigned as president of Clinton Community College today. His 2-year tenure was marked by continued enrollment challenges, a vote of no confidence by faculty, and the announcement earlier this year that the college plans to move its campus to SUNY Plattsburgh. David Favreau is the president of CCC's board.
I just want to wish John luck in the future. He is a brilliant academic individual and certainly has a lot of potential to offer.
The board was quick to name Kowal's successor. It's tapped longtime SUNY Plattsburgh official Ken Kennelly as its administrator in charge, effective tomorrow. Kennelly is currently chief of staff in the SUNY Plattsburgh president's office and special advisor to SUNY Central for CCC's transition. Favreau says that means he's been collecting information from faculty and staff and figuring out what learning will look like in the new location.
He's the right person for the right job at the right time, and he's going to put us where we need to be.
Under the current timeline, CCC would move to SUNY Plattsburgh by summer 2025. Favreau says the plan is for Kennelly to stay at the helm until December 2025. He says at that point, the college will be better positioned to look for its next permanent president.
Trying to do a presidential search in the middle of this transformation just wouldn't make sense. We would be pulling an awful lot of resources from the transformation, which we certainly don't want to do.
SUNY Central has approved plans to move CCC into SUNY Plattsburgh's Red K Hall, across from Hawkins Hall on Beekman Street. Favreau says CCC's administration will be based in a house behind Red K. He says taking over the two buildings will allow the college to maintain its autonomy. But a lot of things still need to be worked out. The college didn't put out any details about what, if any, staff layoffs could happen. Officials have said no realignment or program cuts are planned. There's also the fate of CCC's current buildings, which have gotten millions in state and Clinton County money over the last several years. Those include the Institute for Advanced Manufacturing and the former Hotel Champlain, which serves as the college's academic building. Favreau says what happens to those buildings will be up to the Clinton County Legislature. Kara Chapman, North Country Public Radio.
North Country motorsports fans have lost a racing legend. Drivers, crews, and fans at the Brockville, Ontario Speedway held a moment of silence before Saturday night's race for Barefoot Bob McCreedie of Watertown. He died on May 15th after a lengthy illness. He was 73 years old. McCreedie drove a race car that was iconic to crowds, the number 9 Kinney Drugs car. He was a fan favorite during his 35-year career. McCreedie talked about his connection to racegoers in a 2017 interview with WWNY-TV.
I was just a regular guy. I was just like them. I mean, if it weren't for racing, I'd be working as a mechanic or whatever, same as everybody else does. I mean, I would have had to work, and I'm just a laborer. I'm nothing trick, that's for sure, and luckily I fell into racing and I worked really hard at it and we had success at it. But I never, that old saying, treat people the way you want to be treated, I tried to do that.
According to officials at the Evans Mills Raceway, McCreedie started out racing in Evans Mills in Watertown in 1971. He went on to win 8 series championships and was inducted into the Northeast Dirt Modified Hall of Fame in 2006. McCreedie told WWNY that the thing he's proudest of in the sport is passing it on to his sons. He's survived by 3 children, 5 grandchildren, and a great-grandson. Traditional crafts are a special part of every region's heritage, but preserving them and the skills they require can be tough, especially if there's no longer a big market for them. Today we hear from one young person about how he's carrying on the legacy of the Adirondack guideboat. Anna Williams-Bergen has this North Country at Work story.
Adirondack Experience, the museum on Blue Mountain Lake, has a bunch of boats. There are Rushton canoes, antique motorboats, and Adirondack guideboats. There's also someone whose whole job is working on them. His name is Nate Atkinson. He's 26, originally from Harrisville, and he starts working early in the morning, taking advantage of the quiet before museum visitors show up.
And then as people start to walk in the doors, I say, oh my goodness, okay, it's opening time. And I basically just keep doing the same exact thing that I was doing, whether that's planking the boat or laying out the ribs.
The boat workshop has warm wooden walls and tools hanging everywhere. It's in an open corner of the museum, so visitors can always see what he's working on.
And then as I work, people will come in and ask me questions, and that's why I'm here in a visible workshop that you can walk into the museum and see and stop me. I want to explain things to people.
Atkinson's passion is the traditional guideboat, an iconic symbol of the Adirondacks. Light and wooden, rowed, not paddled, it's a design that grew out of necessity.
They're really the workboat or the original pickup truck of the Adirondacks. So they're meant to carry a lot of weight, people, goods, supplies to wherever you want to go before the roads here were halfway decent.
Atkinson loves guideboats. He spends hours looking at them, reading about them, just studying the craft. He says part of what he likes is just how much they can do. It makes them impressive, but also really intriguing to design.
In the Adirondacks, you need to carry the boat a lot, and the carries are not always short. So the boat needs to be light, and combining strength with being able to quickly move people through the wilderness and then, carry that boat is a really tall order. And the guideboat was really specifically designed for that.
For Atkinson, the guideboat is an object that really represents the spirit of the Adirondacks.
It's not the easiest place to live. Those challenges make the people here really resilient, and you have to come up with solutions to things. And then you get to experience the good bits, and they make you want to stay here forever. I think the guideboat is just a really good physical example of that. It's a boat that was only developed here, only designed here, for use here, for the specific needs that we had.
In addition to his work at the museum, Atkinson has his own guideboat building business called Atkinson Adirondack Craft. He's one of just a few traditional guideboat builders left in the whole Adirondack region. And, he says, the youngest.
Traditional boat building, it takes a long time. It's lots of hours, pretty tedious work. It lends itself to perfectionists, which is why I'm doing this in the first place.
Modern boat building has left a lot of that craft behind. Today's most popular boats are made in factories from high-performance materials like Kevlar and carbon fiber. Atkinson says there just isn't a huge market for these handmade wooden boats.
It's not like all my friends who paddle, I can't say, oh, you should definitely buy this wooden boat for me. They'll take over a year to build and cost X amount of dollars.
But boat building is what Atkinson loves to do, so he makes it work. It's being the boat builder at the 80KX that really makes everything possible. And Atkinson says he feels lucky with how everything worked out. He took over for the person who first taught him the craft as an apprentice. Atkinson says he personally views guideboats more like functional art pieces.
Not everyone is going to own a beautiful, extremely specific, difficult to make sculpture that they then bring outside and use all the time and potentially smash up on rocks. So they're not for everyone, even though they are a really important part of our history here in the Adirondacks.
It's no surprise that Atkinson also loves to get out on the water. Last summer, he was rowing the whole perimeter of Blue Mountain Lake a few times a week.
It's just really remarkable because I can still experience things. I can still get in a guideboat and feel the same way on the water that someone felt back in 1860 when they first started to come around.
Adirondack Experience, the museum on Blue Mountain Lake, reopens for the season on Friday, May 24th. If you're guideboat curious, the museum has some available for use in their pond. For North Country Public Radio's North Country at Work project, I'm Anna Williams-Bergen in Blue Mountain Lake.
North Country at Work is a long-running project of NCPR that collects photos and stories about working life in our region. If you have a work story you'd like to share, email us, work@ncpr.org. We have more news all the time on our website, ncpr.org. Music today by Evan Veenstra of Gananoque, Ontario, and Oscar Sarmiento of Potsdam. I'm David Sommerstein, North Country Public Radio.